Good evening. Welcome to the Wilson School Board meeting for Monday, August 21st. Edna, roll call, please.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Here.
Mr. Hart?
Here.
Mr. Hopp?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Mr. Metzger?
Here.
Mr. Negrini?
Here.
Mrs. Reed? And Mr. Wolf?
Here.
Please rise for the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Marevich.
There are two opportunities for the public to address the board on agenda items, which is at the end of the meeting. Pursuant to board's policy and the Sunshine Law, it is a three-minute opportunity to address the board on matters that are or may come before it, and it is not question and answer. Anything, Ms. Carroll?
Are there any communications? Under good news, Valerie Lynn Parsons completed the graduation requirements by attending the 2017 Wilson Summer School program and is now ready to be added to the class of the 2017 permanent minutes, and I believe she's unable to be with us tonight. Prior to tonight's meeting, the board met in an executive session to discuss personnel matters, and there were no votes taken. Approval of the minutes from August 7th, 2017. Do I have a motion? Dr. Chmielewski. Second, Mr. Martin. All in favor? Aye. Treasurer's report?
Attached Treasurer's report, investment report, general fund financial reports from the last period for board approval.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Martin. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hopp?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Chmielewski?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
8-4 and 0 against.
Payment of bills.
Mr. President, I submit pay bills in the amount of $192,245.05 from the 2016-17 general fund, $2,271,770.13 from the 2017-18 general fund, $502.13 from the 2016-17 capital reserve fund, and $10,075.64 from the 17-18 capital reserve fund.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Martin. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Chmielewski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
And financial reports.
Mr. President, I submit we accept for board approval the cafeteria report, child care, and the activity counts from Wilson West, Wilson Southern, and the senior high school for the month of July 2017.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Wolf. Roll call, please.
Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Chmielewski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Hopp?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
8-4 and 0 against.
For the superintendent's report, do we want to break out item 5.7 and vote on that separately? Would that, okay. Why don't you do the whole report and then we'll vote separately.
Thank you, Mr. President. Administration requests approval of the personnel and program recommendations with the exception of 5.7.
Okay, so we are going to vote on everything under the superintendent's report other than 5.7 to start. Do I have a motion for approval? Mr. Wolf, second. Mr. Martin, Roll call, please.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Shemleski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Happ?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
It's 8-4 and 0 against.
Under 5.7, do I have a motion for approval of 5.7? Mr. Wolf, second. Mr. Hart, roll call, please.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Shemleski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Happ?
No.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
That's 7-4 and 1 against.
Under consent items, accept with gratitude a donation from the Wilson Water Polo Parents Organization in the amount of $9,200 with the restrictions that are outlined in the letter. The donation is to be deposited in the Wilson Water Polo Student Activity Fund. Do I have a motion for approval? Mr. Wolf, second. Mr. Hart.
The $9,200, that's going to have to go into a separate bank account because it's going to become a restricted fund. Is that correct?
Or we can just segregate it?
Their student activity.
Yeah, but it has strings attached to it. I mean, it's got to be segregated.
set up a separate sub-account underneath that student activity account, that only the items that the donor is restricting us to spend, that would be kept separate. That's all would roll up.
So we have to do additional accounting to keep it under control. All right, thank you.
Where was it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Under Human Resources, 7.1, request authorization for the superintendent to make employment commitments to qualified applicants for the purpose of filling vacancies that occur after tonight's meeting, be ratified at the next board meeting, and this is consistent with what we have done in the past. 7.2, request approval of the child care assignments as attached. 7.3, request approval of the memorandum of agreement with the Wilson Education Association regarding virtual academy. And 7.4, request approval to appoint Jessica Petrolotti, secondary special education supervisor. Do I have a motion for approval? Mr. Hopp, second. Dr. Chmielewski. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Shemleski? Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Happ?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Under Pupil Services, 8.1, request approval to contract with Elwyn Davidson School to provide one-to-one services for special education student. 8.2, request approval to contract with Elwyn Opportunity School to provide education for a special education student. 8.3, request permission to ratify a contract with Kids Peace National Centers to provide educational services to special education students on an as-needed basis. 8.4, request permission to enroll foreign exchange student, which will be in grade 10 at the high school from Austria for the 2017-2018 school year. And 8.5, request permission to approve the adoption of the addendum to the settlement agreement and release to directly pay the Janus School. Do I have a motion for approval? Mr. Hart, second. Mr. Wolf, roll call, please.
Dr. Shemleski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Happ?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
No.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
7-4, 0 against.
Under 10.1, request permission to enter into a fireworks indemnification agreement with Lower Heidelberg Township, and I believe this is for their 175th anniversary. Do I have a motion for approval? Mr. Negrini, do I have a second? Mr. Martin? I would just like to make a comment before we vote. I would just hope that the supervisors in Lower Heidelberg Township remember the school district's cooperation in this the next time we have a building project in Lower Heidelberg Township, because in the past they have been less than cooperative and have cost the taxpayers significant funds in this district unnecessarily from a financial standpoint. So I would just hope they remember this. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Shemaleski?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich.
Yes.
That's 8 for and 0 against.
Under Finance, 11.1, request approval of the budget transfers dated June 30th, 2017, and 11.2, request approval for First National Bank to be an authorized depository for the Wilson School District. Do I have a motion for approval? Mr. Hart, second. Dr. Chmielewski. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Shemaleski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich.
Yes.
That's 8 for and 0 against.
Under Curriculum and Staff Development, 12.1, request permission to enter into an agreement with the Berks County Intermediate Unit to provide behind-the-wheel instruction to students from the district that register for the BCIU driver education program through the Berks County Intermediate Unit. The costs for this are to be paid by the parents of the students. Do I have a motion for approval? Dr. Chmielewski, second. Mr. Metzger, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin? Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Shemaleski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich.
Yes.
8 for and 0 against.
Under Transportation, 13.1, request the approval of the transportation contract with the Berks Career and Technology Center for the school year 2017-2018 to transport the Wilson School District students to the West Campus. 13.2, request approval of a transportation contract with Gaiman's Mennonite School for the school year 2017-2018 to transport 5 students from Gaiman's Mennonite School. 13.3, request approval of a transportation contract with New Roads Transportation for the 2017-2018 for transportation, including an aid for 1 student to the Vista School in Hershey. 13.4, request approval of bus routes and stops for the 2017-2018 school year, subject to administrative changes throughout the year as needed. And 13.5, request a bid to be awarded in the amount of $392,975 to MA Brightbill Body Works for the purchase of 5 new buses, which include 3 72-passenger school buses, 1 30-passenger minibus, and 1 48-passenger bus to be equipped with a wheelchair lift and other necessary equipment. Do I have a motion for approval? Mr. Martin, second. Mr. Hart, roll call, please. Oh, sorry.
On 13.3, talks about including an aid to be included in transportation cost. Who pays for the aid?
We do, I believe. That's included in the figure. It's in that figure. The $103 per day includes the aid.
Really? That seems awful
that-
low.
Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, they provide the bus, the driver, and the aid for that cost.
Okay.
We're actually sharing with 2 other districts.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. I think we're roll call.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Shemaleski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
8-4 and 0 against.
Under policies, we have 2 second readings for policy number 808, food services, and 808.1, free and reduced priced meals. There's no vote needed this evening.
Next time.
I mean, typically, I think we wait till we're going to vote, but if there's something that needs to be researched, I don't think there's an issue with talking about it tonight.
Okay. I did have a couple questions on the 808, where it talks about the authority. It mentions about state and federal school, follow their programs. And one of the concern I had was if we don't accept funds from the federal government, do we still have to follow the federal program?
I don't. What? I don't believe so. What? We're back. Yeah.
Right, I understand that, but
But I don't think if we don't accept their money, I think that was the point, we don't have to follow their guidelines.
The only thing they can do is defund you. That's their
Right.
enforcement.
right. But
So if you don't take their money, you have their enforcement.
well, I'm just saying if we choose sometime down the road again
To not,
we got this in the policy then.
we'd have to amend,
We'd have to do it over.
we'd have to amend the policy.
Okay. And then on the responsibility on the second paragraph, it's supposed to be a nonprofit basis. And if you flip the page, it talks about, under the guidelines, that any funds that left over have to be returned to the operation of the entity. Where does it come in that we charge them for the space? I mean, normally that would be included in somewhere that we have the right to charge a fee for the service, but I'm not sure how that fits into this. Because it says specifically that
Right.
any revenues are left over have to go back into the fund. So I just wanted to make sure we're not hurting ourselves. Right, well, it talks about it's supposed to have a non-for-profit basis, which I do understand. We don't want to be making, well, we want to make some money to cover our costs, but the overhead, it doesn't really explicitly explain how the overhead that we would charge to them would get paid back to us.
Well, currently, the food service fund does pay back to the general fund for services. When school's in session, they pay us a monthly amount that's in the budget on both the food service side and the general fund side. So that piece, that district interfund transfer is already budgeted in.
Right, so you're okay with the way it's worded then? You don't have any issues with the wording from an accounting standpoint? It seems ambiguous how it's written, but if you're good, I'm good.
I can review with John.
I think the intent is that it has to stay within the fund. It's not going to anybody else but the school district. It's just that, I mean, is it fair to say that that fund is treated like as if it's a subsidiary of our school?
Right, it's an independent fund.
Right.
But might get hung up on the part where we charge them for a fee for, the facility or for overhead. And it's not, I'm just concerned that it's not really explicitly laid out that we have that right.
I'm not a food service expert by any means, but I think with the exception of the rent issue, which I think you're talking about. I
Yes,
think
correct.
All the other expenses are charged to that fund.
Right,
Whether
right.
overhead for what, including the employees, anything that's going on there, but I don't think there's actually a rental component to that.
So nobody would ever challenge that as a legitimate expense.
Well, again, if you charge, let's assume you added that number, then all you would do would mean, so you're saying that then that would come out and go to the general fund? Yeah,
Right.
I've never heard of anybody doing that. I mean, we can look at it. Yeah.
I just want, okay, that's it, that's all I
Fair
have.
question, fair question.
And we are, as we've talked about, we are going to be looking at the federal funding again. We need to regroup on that. I think is a fair statement. Thank you. Under committee reports, Berks Career and Technology.
Next meeting of the JSC of BCTC will take place this upcoming Wednesday at 6:30 at our East Campus. That is all.
Berks County IU, Mrs. Reed is not able to be here tonight. Berks EIT. curriculum committee, Mrs. Reed did you want to?
The Wilson has received a $10,000 grant from the state of Pennsylvania for the Governor's P3 Institute. We're working on prenatal through grade 3, and what can we do to make sure that students are on level by grade 3. Our focus is on the transition from preschool, kindergarten, and parent education and involvement for P3. Rollout will be in January 2018. Every Student Succeeds Act, the federal government's reply to No Child Left Behind. It makes some changes, such as reducing the number of tests while making these assessments more usable. It also adds career education. Assessments for reading workshop. Assessments are being worked on to provide student feedback, as well as to inform teacher instruction. Benchmarks by Fountas and Pinnell will be reduced to 2 times a year. Running records and conferencing will be increased. Report cards and surveys will be sent out to see what people want in a report card. Teachers have gotten their and parents to receive theirs the first week of school. The report card will be the same as the first quarter, but we will evolve over the rest of the year. It will begin with science and language arts. As other curriculums are written, the report card will continue to change. PDE, the department, and the elementary PDE days at the beginning of the school will center around a new reading workshop being started this year. The secondary will be centered around the target area of math. Departments not involved in the curriculum writing will have individualized professional learning program 4 times a year, and they will identify a focus, which is something that we're really been working hard on for the past several years to get a focused area. I forgot, who's the guy who's coming? Yeah, it's a big name in math education. We'll be working with our teachers that day, and I think a couple days, if I'm not mistaken, right? So.
Can I make one clarification? The report card element is just elementary report cards? It's
Right.
not
Yeah, you'll still get number grades at the high school and middle school. And instructional coaches, new coaches are Dan Kaufman in math, Steve Rhodes in science, and in ELA, Angela Mistifer.
Thank you. Extracurricular.
Not much to report. We've only had, our golf team is the only one to officially compete in a quad match, and they went 2-1. But it was a good first week of practices. No reports of anyone staring at the sun too long today, so I think we're in good shape.
That's good. Facilities. No report. Finance, I have no report. Human resources? No report. Legislative.
Well, not much is happening on the budget side. I mean, it's unfortunate because the deficit, which they keep speaking about, is still a product of the recession, and the majority of that book is related to the pension funding, which still has not really been addressed and probably never will be until the state goes bankrupt. And we already have one of the lowest credit ratings of all states, which is nothing to get excited about because it costs the taxpayers even more money for interest expense. One thing that I thought was
Did they not give us the ability to excuse individual taxpayers if they want? I say that sarcastically.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So for all the taxpayers who don't feel like paying their bills,
Come
feel free to come to
October,
our
when
meetings.
you vote,
ask us that you don't have to pay your bill because the legislature doesn't want to deal with it, so they just push it down the line to give us something that no rational school board would ever approve because it wouldn't be fair and equitable.
But come October, when it's already at 50%, when we vote on to make it 100%, which will pass, it doesn't mean anything because no school can fund it.
But it gives them a scapegoat as to why nothing's happening.
Right.
They'll blame us.
All right. You're right. One thing that was interest, the Treasury said they're going to stop bailing out the state, through its revenues, and this is something that came from the Democrat Treasurer, Joe Torsella, if I pronounce his name right. He said, I got to start questioning, with the state's gap funding increasing, the responsibility of this short-term bailouts. So he's going, that's a conflict of what the governor wanted to do. So as you know, that most of the money is going to be coming from borrowed money from the cigarette tax or the health tax. There's an additional $400,000 being passed on through a utility tax. And the bad news is that come August 29th, there's $0 left in the budget. And come shortly after, by mid-September, it grows to $1.6 billion deficit. And then that won't subside until tax collections in February and March start kicking in. So The $2.2 billion, the House is not agreeing to it because they think it's robbing Peter to pay Paul. So I'm not sure where it's going. But anyway, they're not back in session anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But now you know the rest of the story.
That was uplifting. Thanks, Mike. Public relations.
Thanks, everyone. Just a couple of items under public information. So we are in the process of executing a comprehensive communications plan to inform all of our Wilson families about the key information they need to know about getting ready for the new school year. So we've been doing lots and lots of communication. So key messaging has included information, again, about the changes to the vaccination requirements, online student registration, student schedule release, classroom assignments, meet the teacher dates and times, first day of school dates and school day times, as well as bus schedule release information. So we have executed a very comprehensive communications plan about all of those items, getting ready for school to start next week. We also shared a welcome greeting video from Dr. Fadley on social media and the Bulldog Blitz on the website, and we've received some really great feedback. Lots of people engaged with that video on our website as well as on social media, which was fantastic. And then Dr. Fadley is going to be doing a call home welcome back message for all families that's going to go out on Sunday at 5 p.m. So that's a great thing to get kids ready for back to school. We've also been participating in quite a few media stories lately. Dr. Fadley was quoted in a story about the recent changes to PSSA testing. We participated in a story about the national bus driver shortage. We participated in a What's New in Schools article that appeared in the Reading Eagle actually today. And most excitingly, the Reading Eagle is working on a very large feature story about Dr. Fadley, and he is going to be riding the bus to school on Monday. He's going to be on an elementary bus run, and the reporter, photographer is going to cover all of that. So we're looking forward to a really nice feature story on Dr. Fadley and the Reading Eagle. I'd also like to issue the Wilson Education Foundation update. We're kicking off our employee giving campaign. Part of how we raise our funding for the foundation is through employee giving, and I'll be kicking that off on Wednesday at our in-service day. And our goal is to increase total participation from last year. Last year, our participation rate was 22%. So obviously, we've got lots of opportunity to grow that. So hopefully, we'll have a successful employee giving campaign for the foundation this year. And that's all. Thank you. Yeah.
On the way back, you're taking the high school bus back. You're taking elementary in the morning and the high school back.
Well, typically what I do is I ride the elementary on the first day and then the high school bus on the last day of school.
That's when they need the supervision the most.
That's right. Actually, past history would our middle school buses need the most supervision. Technology.
No report.
Mr. Maravich. Is there any other business? Any public? Whoop.
I just want to say congratulations to Amy and everyone else who got to the new teachers ready for today and the kickoff. I mean, it was a great start this morning. Welcome back to the new teachers. Welcome to the returning teachers on Wednesday. Good luck to the teachers, support staff, administration, and all the students and everyone else on the first day of school next week. So good luck to everyone.
Yeah, Brad and myself were at the new teacher orientation this morning, which did not stay for the whole thing, but Dr. Fadley, I believe, wants to.
Yeah, I just want to also echo what's been said. Our new teacher induction program today was superb. The one thing I do keep noticing, though, is every year that I get in front of the new teachers, they look younger and younger, and I don't know what that says about me, but we have hired some very high-quality professional staff. I commend the administrators for their work over the summer to put together such a fine group, and I look forward to seeing the teachers in action in their classrooms over the course of the next week. So to all our staff who's worked so hard all summer long, getting ready, technology, the entire group. Thank you very much. We're ready to go. We're ready for the first day of school.
Thank you. Is there any public participation on non-agenda items? No. Then I take a motion to adjourn. Mr. Hopp, second. Mr. Hart, all in favor? Aye.